Everyone, it's Miss Cone. So, I hope you've noticed that our reading workshop, our read aloud, and our social studies are all being mixed together. And that's okay because right now we're going to be doing a reading unit that's all about social studies. We're going to be reading about the American Revolution and acting like researchers. So, yesterday you read Chapter 3, The Rights of Englishmen. And yesterday, we remembered that good researchers make a list of subtopics as they read about their main topic. And I reminded you that when we were studying Native Americans, you did exactly that. You had your main topic, Native Americans, and then we found all those little subtopics to help us really break it down and understand everything. Today, I want to teach you one more thing that good researchers do. Good researchers pay attention to text structure. So right now, you're seeing my computer screen. This is what I'm seeing. So there are some different kinds of text structures, and you probably remember this from when we did our nonfiction unit a little while ago. So our first one is description, and I want to let you know that in nonfiction, it's not usually a description text structure. It's less likely when we're reading about history, but it's possible. And there are certain words that we can keep our eyes open for, to look for, to make sure we know that it's a description text structure. So those signal words you see in the middle column, right here. For example, for instance, characteristics include, specifically, in addition, all of these words can signal or tell your brain, oh, this is probably a description text structure. And over here, you'll see a little picture kind of explaining what it is, right? Favorite topic in the middle and all those descriptions around it. Our second text structure we're going to focus on, and this one is super important when we read about history, is called sequence and order. Another word is chronological. So this one we've talked a little bit about. I usually picture a timeline, or over here they have a 1, 2, 3. And again, there's signal words that make our brain know that, oh, this is sequence, order, or chronological. So those words can be before, in the beginning, to start, first, next, during, after, then, finally, last, in the middle, in the end. And we've talked about this before. I'm going to show you one more thing to help you with this. This is another little chart. Since we're not in school, we'll have to look at them this way. So chronological order, remember I said that's the same as sequence. The author lists events or steps in time order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, there are those key words. Another thing that I added to my chart is that there's going to be a lot of dates. Especially when we read about history, you're going to see all different dates and times. That should signal your brain that it's in chronological order. Okay, so going back, our next one is compare, contrast. You know all about that. We've been writing those essays for a long time. So when I'm comparing and contrasting, I'm finding what's similar, what's different. And again, there's those key words that will signal your brain to know this must be compare and contrast structure. I have one more chart for you. Just because we're not in school doesn't mean we don't get these fun charts. Okay, so we use Venn diagrams often as a visual, right? Compare, contrast, what's similar, what's different. So if you're reading and you're thinking, wow, I could really easily make a Venn diagram right now, it's probably compare and contrast text structure. Another one that we have is cause and effect down here. We've also done a bit of work with this. Cause and effect, cause and effect. There can be more than one effect, right? So something happens. For example, if I spilled my water, the effect will be that I run and get a paper towel. Something happens, and then it makes something else happen. Again, we have those signal words right here. Since, because, if, due to, as a result of, so, then, leads to, consequently, So I'm going to show you one more chart to help us out with that one. Cause and effect. This one's tricky, but I think you guys are going to get this. So, right, the author explains how one thing happened, and then it led to another, the effect. If you don't do your homework, then you won't get better. And again, those key words down here, I'll post all of these charts for you to look back at whenever you need them. Our last text structure is called problem and solution. Now, this one can sometimes get a little bit confusing with cause and effect. I know that happens to me too. But when you're thinking about problem solution, I really want you to think about good and bad, right? You see this little sad face leads to the happy face. There's a problem and then it gets fixed. So again, those signal words, problem, issue, cause, since, consequently, therefore, as a result of, because of, leads to, due to, solve, so then. You might be saying, wait a minute, Miss Cohn. I just saw all of those words, though. They were up here, too. You're right. And I told you they're super similar, and that's okay. I want you to remember this smiley face and this sad face. Keep that in your brain when you're thinking about problem and solution, because that's one way to make it different from cause and effect. One more little picture for you. Right? You got a problem. We got a solution. What is the problem? What's wrong? And then how has it been solved? How did it get better? Asking yourself those questions will help you know if it's a problem and solution text structure. Okay, I know that was a lot of information, and all of this will be posted for you to have. But I want to go back to that hard work you did yesterday when you read Chapter 3, The Rights of Englishmen. So, I want us to go back. We're going to view this as only one page. Yesterday, you read this chapter. I also read it, and I went through and I tried to figure out what the different text structures were in this chapter. So I went through and I highlighted those signal words just like I was telling you about. So I read the first page and I saw dates over time within a few hundred years, and I said, this looks like it's structured chronologically, in chronological order. But that doesn't mean the next page is the same, so I kept reading. Several hundred years earlier, at first, over time, for a few hundred years, in 1986, again, chronological. Kept going, still chronological. A lot of the times history is, and that's okay. Kept going, wait a minute, something's changing. So when I got to this chapter, claiming British rights, I was reading it and I was a little bit confused because there was so much information. So I'm going to read it to you and tell you how I thought about it. As you have discovered, I'm right over here, England had joined with Scotland and Wales to form the nation of Great Britain. The people of Great Britain, the English, the Scots, and the Welsh, had self-government. They also had other rights and liberties. As members of the British Empire, colonists in North America felt they should have the same rights. Most of these rights and liberties were meant to protect the people against unfair actions by their own government. Okay, so I read that a few times to myself, and I thought, there's something that's happening in Great Britain. Colonists are protected, our rights are protected. And because of that, the effect is that in America, the colonists want to have these same rights protected, right? So down here, all of these rights are still being protected because they were protected in Great Britain. I read a little bit more. There are more rights that were protected in Great Britain, the cause and the effect. These were those rights. Then wait a minute, jumps back to chronological and ends with chronological. So you're noticing how within one chapter, there was different kinds of text structures. Maybe the whole chapter is structured one way. Maybe it's not. This is a hard task, especially with these texts that are very hard. So today, your work is to read Chapter 4. We've attached it below. You're going to read Chapter 4, and I want you to think deeply. It's not going to be easy about the different text structures you see. And I want you to take some notes about the different things you're seeing. I know that you don't have it printed out. If you can print it, that's awesome. If not, don't worry. Just take some notes. Maybe you could say first paragraph, second paragraph. You don't have to rewrite the whole thing. Just kind of point my head in the direction of what you're talking about. Because if you say, this was compare contrast, this was problem solution, I don't really know what you're talking about, right? Because I can't see it myself. So try to be as clear as possible. Also, if you're having trouble reading, Miss Hattinger has a video of herself reading the chapters. So if it won't load or the words are just very tricky and you think it's just a little bit too much, I suggest you go listen to Miss Hattinger read it. All right? So today you're going to go back, you're going to open up to chapter 4, and you're going to read through it thinking about the different text structures and jot that down in your notebook. All right, have a good day.